Are states liable under IHL for supporting non-state armed groups? Imagine a country secretly providing weapons or training to a rebel group fighting in another country. Could that country be held responsible for what happens next? Today, we're exploring whether states can be accountable under international humanitarian law when they support non-state armed groups. Non-state armed groups are parties involved in conflicts that are not between countries. They include rebel groups, insurgents, or militias. These groups are bound by international humanitarian law, which aims to protect civilians and regulate conduct during war. But unlike states, non-state groups do not have official status or privileges under the law. They are often seen as unlawful combatants or criminals by the opposing states. States have responsibilities under international law to respect and ensure compliance with the laws of war. If a state supports a non-state armed group, it can be held liable if it exercises control over that group's actions. This means if the group acts on the instructions or under the direction of the state can be responsible for violations of the laws of war committed by the group. Even if a state does not control the group directly, it can still be held responsible if it knowingly aids or assists in violations. For example, providing weapons, training, or logistical support that helps the group commit unlawful acts can make the supporting state liable. This is especially true if the state encourages or facilitates violations of international humanitarian law. Another important aspect is the obligation of states to prevent violations. Under the Geneva Conventions, states must do everything possible to stop violations by groups they support. If they turn a blind eye or fail to act, they might be seen as complicit in those violations. In practical terms, this means that countries supporting non-state armed groups need to be very careful. They should assess their involvement and avoid actions that could make them responsible for war crimes or other violations. The law is increasingly recognizing that indirect support can lead to accountability, especially when victims suffer harm because of that support. Victims harmed by groups supported by states may have rights to seek reparations or justice. This reflects a growing understanding that states cannot escape responsibility simply because they do not directly carry out violations. Their support can make them liable under international law. In summary, if a state exercises control over a non-state armed group or knowingly helps it commit violations, that state can be held responsible under international humanitarian law. This legal framework aims to promote accountability and protect civilians during conflicts, regardless of who the actors are.